Hey everybody, it's Glenn, back in this video with Star Wars Boba Fett Sandtrooper Hybrid Metal Figuration by HeroCross. Yeah, I'd never heard of them either. That was until HeroCross, who no doubt stumbled across my videos and were like, hey, that dude's a whore for toys. So they contacted me and were like, do you want to review these for us? So I was like, yeah, why not? So they come in nice collector-friendly packaging in that you can set the figures loose and reinsert them back into the packaging without having to tear the packaging up. Yeah, if you are a mint-in package guy or gal, the black and white minimal design of the window packaging brings focus to the action figure itself and doesn't distract from it. Plus it has fancy magnets which closes the door. Nice. So here they are out of packaging in form. They look like kids cosplaying, but none of that off the rack at Walmart costumes. No siree. We're talking kids with a daddy warbucks who had costumes custom designed for his precious darlings. Now breaking out my measuring tape into the tip of Boba's sticky up thing, and before a Star Wars fan kicks off in the comments, I know said sticky up thing is a targeting display. He stands 6 inches, yet minus that he stands a shade over 5 inches. And the Sandtrooper a shade under 5 inches. First turning my attention towards the Sandtrooper, I know the super deformed style is divisive among collectors. You either love it or hate it. And I think for those who hate it, they're turned off by the simplicity of, say, Funko's Pops. Yet while like those, here we get the stubby limbs and oversized head that typifies the super deformed style. It doesn't, however, simplify the sculpt or deco, so the sculpt captures the various details of the trooper armor, plus that of his bumper big backpack. Now that must be some lunch his mum has packed him. However, I wish that backpack was removable, yet it seems to be fixed in there. Then where it excels the most for me is the deco. With the paint wash, you really get a sense of him having spent some serious time in service on Tatooine. That is, if the Empire enlisted kids. Oh wait, they do. They're just off being indoctrinated somewhere and not deployed on desert planets to look for droids. Yet here all the traipsing across the sands is perfectly represented in the deco, with seemingly all the mess of that planet's terrain collecting in the various recesses of the armor's form. Essentially in deco, it's a more considered application of what Hasbro did with their Black Series version some years ago, yet in comparison that consideration does come with a price. These will set you back $75-ish. Bang for your buck is however represented in the interchangeable hands, so in addition to the clenched fists he's currently rocking, he also comes with these more open gestural hands, and then a third set for holding his weapons, or if you prefer, a hand for pointing and a hand for giving the thumbs up. Which is exactly what you should do to this video. Just saying. They pop on and off pretty easily, and we'll get to articulation later, but you can see there that the wrist articulation is a ball joint, and I'm going to switch in his weapon holding hands so he can model those weapons for us. For weapons, he comes with 2 blasters. In terms of sculpted detail, they're both pretty nice. Let's first look at the more long-range one, and hello, fancy fabric strap, how you doing? Let's see if we can sling that over his shoulder cavalier style. Nah, not really. Maybe if we cross-strap it, it might look better. But then his BLT and Pringles and what else he might be packing back there do get in the way of that a bit. But then that's actually preferred to him actually holding it, as I can't really seem to get him into any kind of naturalistic pose with it. Ooh, perhaps it's actually more designed for him to hold the barrel, so let's give that a shake. Seems super fiddly and oh no, have I just broken it? Oh, actually no, it pegs in. I guess so you can take it apart and more easily get it in his hand without having to endure, 5 minutes of awkward fumbling. Anyway, I'm really more about his other blaster, as the design of it, well, it's just a bit more Star Wars-y, isn't it? Armed with that, he's ready to report for duty. When I was at college, at the time the special editions came out, I went through this curious phase of picking random things up off the ground and saying to my friends, "Look sir, droids!" And that's one of the many reasons that YouTube now represents the most popular I've ever been. But enough of me and back to the wee Sandtrooper here, and I have to say I'm pretty taken by those open set of hands. I like how gestural they are. Then he comes with a display base and a separate sticker bearing the Imperial crest, which you need to apply for yourself, which calls for a super steady hand. There, had to go off camera to do that as it's easier to apply when I don't have a camera on a tripod between me and it. So it features pegs for all the interchangeable hands, which is handy if you don't want to lose them. And finally, it features this part back here, which I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with or really how it works. Does it hinge this way? Is it just for holding the figure securely on the base? Because the articulation's not really there to get him into crazy leaping, flying poses. I mean, we'll get to articulation later, but first, Boba Fett, or Boba Fett, I'll go with whichever pronunciation gets most people correcting me in the comments below, but hey, at least they're bothering to comment. Either way, you know who I mean, this guy, the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy. Which, if we can say that for him, there's still hope that Captain Phasma might be able to turn it around. As with the Sandtrooper, I think the strongest selling point here is the deco again. It conveys a sense of him having hunted a fair few bounties, and I ain't talking the chocolate bar. I'm talking hardened alien types that Boba has tracked down and tangled with, resulting in the wear to his armor. Breaking out Hasbro's Black Series Boba for a comparison, and styles aside, there are considerable differences. The cape, and I don't mean one being fabric and the other plastic, I mean the color of it, plus differently colored gauntlets and a more colorful jetpack on the HeroCross version. I don't know if that makes one more screen accurate than the other, or how, if at all, Boba changed from Empire to Jedi, but I'll leave that discussion to a bigger Boba fan than I to explain in the comments below. Now, even if the super deformed style ain't making your boat float, this one does have something that the more as seen on screen style of the Hasbro's Black Series one lacks, and that's an articulated targeting display. It's nice attention to detail, and it's the kind of feature that sets it a notch above the kind of fare you find at mass retail. As per the Sandtrooper, Boba Fett also comes with a trio of interchangeable hands, so the clenched fists, the more open gestural hands, and also a set designed to hold his blaster, which we'll take a look at in a moment. But first, let me interchange this hand. Ooh, actually, as the gauntlet comes off, let's talk about the construction of these action figures. Now, you heard me in the intro call them hybrid metal, as they are just that. Part metal, part plastic, with the metal component being a generic, I'm not sure what to call it, a skeleton of sorts underneath, providing the articulation. I think they're exactly the same for the two of them. Then with customized plastic parts on top, forming the shell of the individual characters. Anyway, as promised, here's his blaster, which, like the Boba figure itself, is in receipt of a really nice deco to give it an aged look. However, blaster in hand, and I'm really not sure, maybe I need to finagle the articulation a bit more, but I feel like the stubby arms make for some awkward posing with the blaster. Which seems like a good time to address articulation, so the heads are on ball joints, so they rotate, although on the Sandtrooper inhibited by his shoulder accoutrements, but then his head does pivot on the ball slightly up and down. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky, as the armor parts, as I said, are like a shell on top that rotate freely. That makes it fiddly to pose, as often I find I'm just twisting those plastic armor parts and not actually articulating the metal skeleton underneath. It makes posing a bit more labor intensive than I'd like it to be. And on the torso, I'm not sure what's going on underneath the armor there, but does seem to be some kind of rotation going on. It's actually easy to see on Boba Fett with the way his character design is that, yeah, that metal skeleton underneath there does have waist rotation. But then Boba doesn't suffer from this, yet the Sandtrooper does. I don't know if you can see there on his elbow joint, it's kind of like it's spring-loaded. It always wants to spring back into a full extension. At the hips, the legs move out to the side slightly, they move pretty far forward, and then they move this far back. I don't know if there's upper leg rotation or if I'm just twisting the upper leg armor part. There is a hinged knee joint, and then the feet, like the hands, are on a ball joint. It ain't no ankle rocker, that's for sure, but you can get a pretty decent pivot out of it. Boba Fett's head is a bit less inhibited when it comes to rotation. Oh no, did you hear that? That sound you may have heard was the sound of his rocket snapping off. It's just as well I didn't pay for these, or I'd be as pissed as Leia garrotting Jabba right now. But moving on, and Boba Fett comes with a display base unique from the Sandtroopers, and it bears the Mandalorian symbol, which I don't know if you notice, he also rocks on his shoulder armor there. The display base features a port there, yep, for you guessed it, one of these jobbies again. Yet this could be cool with old Boba here, because he can actually fly. Well, you know, when the rocket doesn't snap off his jetpack, that is. Then there's a battery compartment, which I assume lights the base up. Now, when it comes to this figure taking to the air, I am approaching this nervously. Let's hook that around his waist. Seems to be the best place. And there? Phew, I've already broken it once. I was fearing that flight display bit snapping in half. But no, there he is, taking to the air, but not really. Oh, that's okay, that's not broken. Not with the posability that you can really get him into a realistic flight pose. I mean, realistically, he looks about as in flight as Halle Berry did in the first X-Men movie. But wait, there's more! Fortunately, I have an itty-bitty screwdriver set, and yes, this screw's gonna be a bastard! And I'll have to deny the TV remote its batteries.
Glenn, I need to change the channel!
Mom, if you want to watch Judge Judy, get off the couch and change the channel yourself. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Oh, and great, I'm only a bloomin' battery short, ain't I? I'm gonna have to pop down the shops anyway. Mum, do you want anything?
Yeah, a loaf of bread, a pint of milk, a dozen eggs, crunchy nut cornflakes, 20 Marlboro, a bottle of whiskey.
Geez, anything else?
Yeah, condoms.
Back now with a full complement of batteries, so let's get this bad boy turned on. Ooh. Well, there's Boba in place. Let me try switching the lights off. Maybe I'll switch out Boba Fett for the Sandtrooper, him being white. It might be more effective. Yeah, I guess it is. Still not sure it was worth running down to the shops though. So all things considered, and in spite of their faults, I do like them. They're too cute for me not to. But do I like them enough that I'd pay the price tag for them? Probably not, but for some out there, these will no doubt tickle a fancy. Anyway, click this video if you missed my previous Star Wars action figure review. Give this video a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.